Hi everybody, thanks for joining me once again. This is Peter. You're watching Thailand Bound, and if it's your first time here, I talk about all things Thailand. Right, as you know, I haven't told any relationship stories or any other stories for the last couple of weeks. I've tried to sort of mix it up a little bit, and I did some other bits and bobs over the last couple of weeks. I've had some guys write to me again and say, come on, we want some more stories. So I'm going to, that's what I'm going to do this week. I've got quite a few stories lined up for you, and I've gone through my files and I thought, look, I'm going to try and clear some of these out the way. So there's about 3 or 4 here. They're not all relationship stories. There's a good relationship story. And one, do you know, I always say when I've made videos in the past, some of the videos are they're warning videos saying if you go to Pattaya, this is a great warning. Well, one of the stories in today's stories, when you read this, I'll tell you before I actually read it out, it's a great warning. And it's one of those stories I'm always talking about.
สวัสดีค่ะ
So this one starts off, it says, I thought that it might be a great idea if subscribers would send you little stories that stand out a bit, just like you did in the video you uploaded called 20 Personal Memories and Experiences of Thailand. It would be a similar contribution than the funny pictures. Without being straightforward love stories per se, here are several of my short experiences. Maybe other subscribers would love to share little stories as nostalgia awaiting Thailand's opening. Right, I really like this idea, and if it's your first time to my channel, let me explain what the guy's talking about. So a lot of the times I'll tell a love story relationship video, and guys have written to me in the past and said, look, why don't you give us some of your experiences when you were in Thailand, Peter? And I put together a video a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago now, and it was that was the title of it, Personal Memories and Experiences in Thailand. And these were just little clippets of things that stand out in my memory of things that happened to me or I witnessed, some of them nice, some of them not so nice. And then I'd gone on to make another video with funny pictures, and I'd put a call out and said, guys, if you got any funny pictures, send them out. So what this guy here is suggesting, and it's a great idea, he's saying, why don't forget the relationship stories, forget the funny pictures, go back in your mind when you've been to Thailand, and if you've got sort of 3 or 4 funny little stories or things that stand out, why not put them into one story, send them to me, I can play about with them and I can put them out there. And to give you an example, you can go back and look at personal memories and experience of Thailand that I put out there, and this is the one that the guy's given me as an example. So you can listen to this one, and if you've got anything similar, then you can do the same. You can send me the same as what this guy has. Sorry to waffle on a bit there, but I wanted you to really understand where I was coming from. So here we go. His first short story is called Forgot the Bill. In Phrom Phong district, I was eating next to the BTS at a Thai-orientated business which looked a bit like a canteen with super cheap meals under 100 baht with a drink. I got seated right next to what looked like a Korean tourist. He paid the bill, and the newcomers were 2 Chinese ladies whom I chatted with and said goodbye. I went back to my hotel. It suddenly hit me, I didn't pay the bill. The staff must have thought I was with the Korean guy and he'd already paid for it, or the ladies would pay it. It took a few minutes to run back to the place. I thought I was going to be cursed as a terrible cheapskate foreigner for not paying an 80 baht meal, not mentioning the surprise that the 2 ladies would have had if the staff billed my meal to them. The staff guy whom I explained the situation with didn't seem to speak much English, but had such a great smile on his face that it made my day when I give him the money owed plus a generous tip as an apology. FARANG reputation restored. Right, within these stories, you'll hear me say the word FARANG or FARANG, however you want to pronounce it. If you've never been to Thailand, that means foreigner. So in all of these stories, the word FARANG, it comes up, so you now know what it means. Okay, his next story, Thai costume and the wrong setup. A keen Thai lady took me on a date on a Thai dressing festival next to the Queen's Palace, where you could dress like it used to be in those old Thai dramas, taking place way back in time. Hundreds of Thais dressed in old-fashioned Thai fashion. The only other foreign I saw was an adorable old couple. I was feeling out of place in a funny way, with the Thais looking at me with curiosity. My date helped me to dress up, then I waited for her to turn up next to the female dressing room. It took a while waiting. While I was sitting on a bench, there is this middle-aged Thai lady around her 50s coming up to me for a chat with the usual ice-breaking questions. Then she waved at a younger lady. Here is my daughter and her friend. The two younger ladies then wanted a picture with me. Worried that my date would be coming back any second, I was sweating inside as I didn't want to be rude either. Then the mother asked straightforward if I was alone and that I could tag along if I wanted to in the friendliest Thai fashion. Hopefully this was my way out without being rude, as I politely told them that I was actually waiting for my friend to be dressed and return. During this evening, my date actually got a lot of face from the attention I was drawing, as she was okay with people asking to be in the picture with me. We even were recorded on video when we danced to traditional Thai music with a crowd we hung out with for a while afterwards. Okay, his next little story is called Wrong Priorities. When I was a Thailand newbie, I dated a high school Thai lady in Chiang Mai. She was taking an MBA in finance. She owned several coffee shops and so on. She finished work very late, normally around 11 p.m, barely having an hour together. We didn't know where to go as everything was closed. It dawned on me that the red light district is actually the only place bars stay open later in the night. We ended up in a beer bar, in that it wasn't screaming with bar girls in your face, if you know what I mean. Midnight is closing time there, but that didn't bother the bar. Curtain closed, they were still serving us. We talked, we played pool and the like. Until then, I noticed it was 4 a.m. I had booked a tour starting at 7 a.m. the following morning. We headed back to my hotel. It was now past 5 a.m. After some discussion, it was decided that she was going to be better off sleeping at my hotel rather than driving home because of the time. Now, I think he really does mean because of the type of girl he was with, it really was just sleeping. Maybe he slept on the couch, who knows. She asked me to let her sleep on, and after I had left the room, when I woke up, it felt like I'd only been asleep for a couple of minutes. When the hotel rang up to my room, "Sir, you have a car waiting for you downstairs." I leapt out of bed like a madman, got dressed, kissed the forehead of my girl goodbye. She kissed me back as I had woke her. I was having conflicting feelings again. Had I made a mistake? I'd come to Thailand for a cultural trip, but I'd left this beautiful woman behind in my hotel room. I later spoke with this lady, who told me that once I had removed the room's key card, she no longer had electricity. As you know, a lot of modern hotels now, you get a plastic card rather than a key. You pop it in a slot. Once you take that plastic key out, all the electricity goes off in the room. So that's what he's saying here. She no longer had the electricity, so had to leave the room. Anyway, as it became very, very hot very quickly, being a regular Thai lady, she slept with aircon at her own home, which is why she could not sleep in my room. Once again, the aircon had gone off. So there you go. That's a good example. So if you look back on some of your trips and you can, recollect 4 or 5 interesting stories, they weren't nothing over exciting, but they were nice to listen to. And if you've got similar, maybe you can put them together and not too long, make each story kind of not too long. And then if it's a nice collection of stories, I'll read them out. Okay, so let's go on to the next one.
สถานีต่อไปนานา Next station Nana.
Okay, if you remember that video I made about some of my own personal experiences when I was in Thailand, one of them in particular was quite gruesome. It was the one where I witnessed a dog getting run over, and it stays in my mind until, even now. This is a story that a guy sent to me. It's quite a short story. It's worth reading out. So let me go ahead and read this to you. Hi Peter, here is a short story about safety in Thailand. This is not a romantic story, but nevertheless it might be of interest to your viewers. I normally stay at the Lek Hotel on 2nd Road in Pattaya and had just completed a few days of R&R. As usual, I woke up early to go to the bus station on my return to Bangkok. It was about 6:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Upon departing the Lek Hotel, I noticed that the 2nd road was quiet and empty with very little activity. Hardly any pedestrians or vehicles, only a 7-Eleven open for business across the road. As I walked towards Mike's shopping mall on the left side of the 2nd road, I noticed a young guy getting on his motorbike in front of the 7-Eleven. At that time, I was approaching Soi 12. While on the other side, there was Soi 14 alleyway. The young motorbike guy started his bike and started to speed away from his parking spot while looking towards the direction of the oncoming vehicles. As said, there was little, if any, traffic. Right, I need to cut in here very, very quickly. Sorry to interrupt, but if you've never been to Pattaya before, the 2nd road, there's a kind of a loop road that goes round to the beach. It comes up, and then the road that runs along is called the 2nd road. That is a one-way. You can only go in one direction. So when this kid got on his motorbike and he took off, he was assuming nothing was coming the other way because nothing should have been coming away. As I said, it's one way, you can only go in one direction, and the motorcycle kid, he was going the correct way. An older pickup truck came out of Soy 14 alleyway, but the truck did not make a right-hand turn onto the second road. No, he made a left-hand turn against the direction of the second road and traffic and slammed right into the motorbike guy. Both the pickup truck and the motorbike accelerated directly into each other, but this was not a collision of two vehicles. In this case, the pickup truck rammed right through the motorbike driver. The motorbike guy was hit with such force that he was thrown off his bike and come to a sliding stop near the Lek Hotel front door some 50 meters away. Of course, the motorbike was crushed. A few people ran to the motorbike guy, who was lying with no movement whatsoever. He was either unconscious and seriously injured or dead. The truck driver didn't stop to see what had happened, just zoomed away down the wrong direction of the second road, so against the oncoming traffic, which he shouldn't have done. Was he crazy in a hurry or just drunk? I don't know. To this day, some 20 years later, this accident still haunts me. I can still visualize it in slow motion. In countries like the US, we have laws where the pedestrians have the right of way and the vehicles are more careful because of this. But in Thailand or most any other developing countries in Asia, there is no pedestrian right of way that protects us. Please be careful. So this is just something you've got to be careful. You know, you can't assume that the same safety laws are there in Thailand as they are in your own country. The same as in the UK, actually. Pedestrians have got right of way, whatever the rules are with traffic. Right, okay, so at the beginning of this video, I told you I've got one of these bar girl relationship stories, and it's one of these stories that I warn you about, and I won't make any more comments on this. I'm just going to read it. I know what you're going to think when I read it out. It'll be quite humorous to some. Others will be banging their heads against their desks, and you know, I dare say there'll be quite a few comments on this one. Typical Pattaya bar girl FARANG relationship. So enjoy this one, guys.
Next station, Siam, interchange with Sukhumvit line. Doors will open on the right-hand side of the train.
My name is Griff. I am from Wales. Back in 2012, after going through a messy divorce, I decided to bury myself in work. I earned great money. I was 58 years old. One day I came home feeling a little bit unwell, so went to see my doctor. I was off work for about 3 days when my friend Dave called me. He had just returned from Thailand. Dave had been going back and forth to Thailand for years, and he always shared his photographs he had taken, and although I had never been to Thailand myself, I was aware of the bar scene in Thailand, which sounded like a single man's fantasy. Dave said, why don't I go with him on his next trip? I asked my children about this, and they all agreed that I should go and enjoy myself. So next thing I knew, Dave booked us both on Thai Airways. I have never been on a long-haul flight before. Dave came to my house one night and told me these bar girls are experts at manipulating foreign men. Dave drilled it into me, have fun, but don't fall in love or fall for any of their scams. A week before we were due to leave for Thailand, Dave told me that he could not go due to unplanned work commitments. I decided, what the heck? I was so looking forward to it. I would go alone. Dave gave me all the information about catching taxis from the airport and so on. He had booked me into the hotel. He always stayed in Pattaya and tried his best to help me out with as much information as he could. I arrived in Bangkok, took a taxi down to Pattaya and found the hotel. So far, so good. The problem was I was so shattered after the flight, I practically fell onto the bed, exhausted. I woke up about 7 in the evening. It was pitch black outside. I jumped into the shower, went down to the front desk, asked for a card with the hotel's address, so at least I knew I would make it back to the hotel if all else failed. Off out, I decided to have a drink in the first bar I came to, right outside of my hotel. A stunning Thai girl grabbed my arm and asked, "You have a drink in my bar?" My friend had told me all about the lady drink system, so I did not have a problem buying this girl a drink. Just as Dave had warned me, the questions now started to come out thick and fast. You on holiday? You first time? How long you stay in Pattaya? You have girlfriend? At this point, everything Dave had warned me about went out of the window, which I would later regret. The girl, her name was Noi, told me that she was 28. She had no children, had worked in the bar for commission on drinks only, and for just 6 days. Oh, and she only went out. She also went on to tell me that I was the first customer to buy her a drink in her bar. Of course, the inevitable happened. I paid the bar fine and Noi joined me for some drinks in my hotel room. After Noi had taken a shower, I noticed stretch marks and commented to her that I thought she had told me that she had not had any children. Noi replied, "Oh no, I used to be pompui, fat. She used to be fat. I go gym, I lose a lot of weight. I woke up in the morning to the sound of Noi making me a cup of tea. Wow, not only a stunning beauty, but caring as well. Lucky me. I have found the one good bar girl in Pattaya." Noi then goes on to tell me that she does not like working in a bar and having creepy old men looking at her. So then I said to Noi, "Look, I'm on holiday, just arrived, I like you. How would you like to spend your time with me every day and not have to work in the bar while I am in Pattaya?" Of course, she had to contain herself, jackpot for her, and of course she went on to tell me that she would love to stay with me. I would have to compensate the bar while she was away, typical. Being naive at the time, I really thought that Dave must have been a very unlucky guy, just like he had been with his marriage. He had only met bad bar girls and had not been fortunate like me in meeting a good girl. They can't be all bad, right? To be honest, I really had a great time with Noi, and as I was on holiday and money was not an issue, I pretty much bought Noi whatever she asked for. I really did not care, as this was the best time I had ever had. I simply wanted it never to end. One day I could hear Noi on the phone when I was in the shower. She was speaking in Thai, so I could not understand what she was saying, and I did not know who she was talking to. When I came out of the shower, she was crying. I asked her what was wrong. Noi told me that her mother was in hospital and she needed money or she wouldn't get treatment. I gave her 20,000 baht to send home. Needless to say, I was only too pleased to help her. 20,000 baht, the Thai baht is up and down. It's about £500, 600 US dollars. You can work that out into your own currency in Google. Okay, so he gave her the 20,000 baht for her sick mother. So here we go. About 4 days later, her phone rang and Noi was speaking in Thai again. This time her father needed to buy a new bed for her mother when she arrived home from the hospital. I should have smelt a rat, but I didn't. I gave her another 20,000 baht. About this time, it was just about time for me to head back home to Wales. Noi came with me to the airport, crying uncontrollably all the way. On the way to the airport, Noi told me that she loves me, that she really did not want to work in the bar, but would rather go home and take care of her mother while waiting for me to return to Thailand. Noi asked me if I would be able to support her and send her a monthly budget to take care of her family and which would allow her to remain at home. I agreed to send her money. The first 2 days back home, I was really missing Noi. Dave came to see me and I told him the whole story and how I had found a good Pattaya bar girl. Dave went ballistic on me. She fed you all the bullshit and you ate it all up. I was deaf to everyone and blind. I only cared about one thing. Within 8 weeks of arriving home, I was back on a flight to Bangkok, but this time I would be heading up to Chiang Mai where Noi's family lived. Noi was going to meet me. When I came through arrivals, I could not see her, so I rang her. Apparently she was sitting in a taxi outside of the terminal building. I finally met her and expected a beaming smile, a big kiss and a warm hug. No, none of any of that. Noi told me that she had rented a room for us as she wanted to stay with me but not in a hotel, and we could not stay in her mother's house. It was a real basic Thai room with a barrel of water and a large cup for a shower and no air conditioning. Needless to say, I hated it and I said I wanted to check into a local hotel. It was really weird because I never see Noi in the daytime now, as she told me she was spending time with her mother. When I met her in the evening, she was always tired, a very different girl to the one I had met in Pattaya. I asked Noi, "Do you really want to be with me?" She said, "Up to you." One night I said, "Let's go out," as we only went to local restaurants and back to the hotel. That night, Noi came from her mother's house looking like $1 million. She had a dress on from Pattaya that I had bought her. I asked her, "Where is all your gold?" I had bought some for her. Her response was, "Stop asking questions." The next day there was a knock at the door. It was another Thai girl, all done up as well. Noi told me it was her friend's birthday, so just the two of them were going out together. I stayed in the room. The next day Noi had not returned. I was now fed up of everything, so I packed my bags up to leave. Just before leaving there was a knock at the door. It was Noi, wearing the same dress the night before. I asked her about this and she simply said she had fallen asleep in her friend's room after coming home. Upon waking, she had come straight over to my hotel. I flew back to Bangkok alone. I also decided to spend the last several days of my trip to Pattaya, and of course the first bar I went into was a bar I met Noi. I later found out that Noi was actually 34 and not 28. She had told me, like she had told me. And what about the stretch marks? Yes, I also found out that she had 3 children. None live with her, but she had a current Thai boyfriend. For the next several days in Pattaya, I had a great time. I was often called out by the bar girls, "Hello, handsome man," whenever I walked past any bars. Also enjoyed the company of several different ladies. Late one afternoon while relaxing in the room, I had a knock at my door, opened it up, and it was Noi. She started crying, begging for forgiveness. I let her into the room to talk. I said to her, "I would have treated you like a queen had you been straight with me." I then went on to ask her about her Thai boyfriend and all the money I had given to her, whereupon a very strong smell of bullshit entered the room. She told me that the money had gone on a mushroom farm that had failed. She asked me for another chance, which I gave her. In brackets, I know, don't ask. Anyway, on my return home, we kept in touch by Skype for about 3 months. The next time I seen a photograph of her on Facebook, she was pregnant. Later, Dave returned from another Thai holiday with a photo of her and a half FARANG child, not mine. I visited Thailand regular, but have now learnt my lesson and have become a seasoned traveller, learning along the way. So I don't really have anything to add to that. I mean, I could delve straight into that. You shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that, but that's self-explanatory. The only thing I will say, two things that you'll hear very, very often from Thai bar girls when you're in Thailand. When you're walking around, it doesn't matter what you look like. You got money in your pocket, you're a handsome man. They're going to call out, "Hey, handsome man." That's one of the things. And one of the other things you'll hear every girl say many, many times. You'll ask them lots of different questions. Doesn't matter what you ask them. The standard reply is "up to you." Okay, so they're 2 things you'll hear very, very regular. Okay, so on to our final story today, and this is it's one of those kind of be careful when you're in Thailand sort of videos. It's a kind of a warning, a little bit of a scam, and it's a guy's story he sent to me. And if I read this and you take it in, it's just, as I say, a little bit of a warning just to watch out for when you eventually get back to Thailand. My mate from the UK contacted me in February 2018 and wanted to come and stay with me in Australia while he was holidaying out here. I said, "Sure, no problem. When are you coming?" He said, "November." We chatted on Skype for about a month. Then I said, "What if we meet up in Thailand? Please keep in mind that we both are married to Thai ladies and both have been to Thailand many, many times before." My mate Don said, "What the heck, let's do it." We then set dates and places to go. We agreed 3 weeks. The plan was Bangkok for 3 nights, then Hua Hin 4 nights, Cha Am 2 nights, and then Anang 4 nights, back to Hua Hin, then Bangkok and home. I arrived in Bangkok 2 days before dawn and had booked the hotel called Dream Hotel on Soi Sukhumvit 15. In brackets, he's written a fantastic hotel. The breakfast is epic. Anyway, the day before dawn was to land, I went to the Sportsman's Bar and Restaurant on Soi Sukhumvit 13, a great bar, at around 1 p.m. I had 2 beers, then I remembered a cheap bar on Soi Sukhumvit 15 called Speakeasy. It is the first bar on your left as you enter the Soi from Sukhumvit. It is the same Soi as the hotel. So I went there and ordered my usual beer in Thailand, Leo beer. A lady that looked in her 50s started talking to me and said at night, "We have girls." I was thinking she must be the mama-san. I had a Leo and went to the hotel. The next day I went to the airport to pick up my mate Don. He was landing at around 6 p.m. Thai time. He got out of customs around 7:30 p.m. We then got the train back to Sukhumvit. He checked into the same hotel as me. We were hungry, so we went to the Sportsman's Bar and Restaurant. We had a great meal. Then I told him about Speakeasy Bar. He said, "Let's go." We got there and we were instantly greeted by a couple of lovely ladies. We ordered our Leo beers and got drinking. Unlike most people, Don and I pay for the drinks as we go rather than at the end. Some places don't like it, but they will do it. It was happy hour, so we paid 60 or 65 baht for a beer. Don was very interested in one of the bar girls, but was tired and just wanted to sleep after the long flight from the UK. After about 8 beers, we decided to call it a night and go back to our respective hotel rooms. The next morning, we had an awesome breakfast and made a rough plan for the day. We decided to go to the Death Cafe in Pattaya, then go back to the hotel, have a walk around and go to Hooters for a drink, then drink at the Speakeasy Bar. Around 6:37 p.m. we went to the Hooters on Soy Sukhumvit 15, just down the road, 3 minutes walk. We had dinner there, a bit expensive, but the views are to die for, if you know what I mean. After Hooters, we decided to go to the Speakeasy bar. When we arrived, the same girls recognised us and sat us down. We ordered our Leo beers, but something was not right, as they had a happy hour sign out the front of the bar saying 65 baht a beer, like what we had paid the night before. They were charging us 85 baht. We had 2 Leos anyway and paid. Then we ordered another one and asked, where is the pool table? They said, it's upstairs. We went upstairs and one of the girls came with us. It was the one Don really liked. About halfway through the game of pool, Don asked the girl how much for the bar fine. She said she's not that kind of bar girl. Don said, okay, no problem, I'm sorry. Then she started acting strange towards us. We had another 2 beers and Dave paid. We went downstairs and I finished my second beer, I guess after 1 hour, and I asked for the bill. It was my turn to pay. The bill arrived and I paid with a 1,000 baht. It was all I had. The total for the bill was 300 baht. The bar girl went to the cashier, came back and gave me 110 baht change. I thought maybe they have accidentally made a mistake and given me the wrong change. I said, excuse me, but I gave you 1,000 baht, to which the mama-san said, no, you gave me 500. I said, no, I gave you 1,000. She said, no, 500. Then a guy seated behind us, he sounded German or Australian, said, no, I saw him give you 1,000 baht. I saw it. She said no. He said no, he gave you 1,000. I was about to say to the mama-san, check till, call police, but then I realised it would only go one way, so I knew it was time to leave. Don had just got back from the toilet. I said, Don, we are leaving right now. The mama-san and one of the girls grabbed Don. He eventually got free. We started walking up the Soy. The mama-san and 2 other girls ran after us and said, you owe us money. I said, get lost. I gave you 1,000 baht. You gave me the wrong change. After 1 or 2 minutes, they went back. I know looking back on it now, it could have got a lot worse. One of the golden rules as a FARANG, you never argue with a Thai local. I am just glad I had the sense to leave and could consider my 1,000 baht gone. We were just about at the Irish pub on Soy Sukhumvit 15 when a Canadian guy said, I saw the whole thing. He said the same thing happened to him, so he only pays with a maximum of 500 baht note. We then found a bar called At 15 Bar, which is Soy Sukhumvit 15. Just go in the little alleyway. When you reach the 7-Eleven, which has cheap buckets of beer, Don and I are both loud and proud tight arses, or Cheap Charlie's. Nana and Cowboy are too expensive for us, which was ran by an Aussie guy who was really nice. So the bar they went to was run by an Aussie guy. Don had the company of one of the bar girls and we went back there another 4 or 5 times. I just looked on the internet and At 15 Bar is permanently closed, another victim of this horrible worldwide situation we are in. I guess the advice for the scam, only pay with a maximum of 500 baht note if you can. If you need to break a 1,000 baht note, or go to a 7-Eleven or a Family Mart, get it changed, but at least buy a 6 or 7 baht bottle of water, or just avoid going to Speakeasy Bar and Soy 15. Okay, so that's I would find that very, very difficult to do, to only pay with 500 baht notes. Now, when you consider most of the bars you go into, if you buy a beer or a short just for yourself, you're looking anything from, I'm not talking about happy hours, I'm talking about regular drinking hours. You're looking anywhere between 140 and 180 baht. Now, if you're going to have to go into a 7-Eleven, buy a bottle of water, change a 1,000 baht note, I would find it very, very difficult to do. When I go out in Bangkok, I want to go out and have a good time. I'm not really looking about how much I'm spending. I might spend anywhere between 4,000 and 8,000 baht in one night out drinking. I want to have a good time. And to have to constantly look for 500 baht notes, it would, that would be a problem for me. The other thing I'd say on that is, believe it or not, I never ever got ripped off on that particular scam. Give somebody a 1,000 baht note and they said I'd only give them a 500 baht note back. I guess if you go into a bar that's really quiet all the time, they might be a little bit desperate. I haven't actually been to the bar that you described, so I'm not going to comment on it. I'm just giving a general view on it, that particularly in places like Nana and Soy Cowboy that depend on their reputation, the bars don't tend to rip you off in that way. What normally happens, you put 1,000 baht, and 9 times out of 10 what will happen is the waitress or you know, who's ever collecting your bill, they have these small torches and they'll hold the bill flat and they'll shine the torch onto it. And if it's less than 1,000, they are the ones to actually tell you. You know, I've had it many times. I'll put a 500 baht note on the cashier's pad, and she'll hold it like this, put the torch on it, and it says "Ha Roy, 500 baht," because she wants to confirm with you that you're not going to say it's 1,000 baht when she comes back. So I've actually found it the other way. It's them trying to protect themselves from foreigners ripping them off rather than them ripping foreigners off. But that's just my own personal experience of this particular situation. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it for this week. I've just got one more thing to say. Have you watched a 8-part series on TV called The Serpent? If you haven't, go and watch it. It's fantastic. Now, I'm sure 9 out of 10 guys watching this particular video have watched it, particularly if you've had any connection with Thailand. Let me just explain for the few people who might be watching this upload who haven't seen The Serpent. It's a true story. It's based in Bangkok most of the time, and it's about a guy. I won't give too much of the details away, but basically him and his wife were a pair of killers and they preyed on young backpackers in the 70s. As I say, true story. It's in 8 parts. You'll find it on BBC iPlayer. You'll find it on, I watched it myself on YouTube, and it's a very, very good story. True story. If you have watched it, the last part of the series, I don't want to give it away. I'll just say if you have watched it before, I bet the guy's gutted. I bet the guy really regrets his decision. That's to anybody who has watched it. But once again, the series is called The Serpent. It's based in Thailand. True story. Absolutely fantastic. I was riveted to it. Watched it over 2 nights, and I do recommend watching that. Right, guys. Until next week, that's it for now. I've got a few more stories I've got to get out there, and I've got some exciting stuff coming up. I'm going to be working with somebody else in the future, but not too much about that at the moment. I'll let you know about that a little bit later on. Okay guys, once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.